Hello, my name is Shiraz. I'm the founder and CEO of Grizzly Industrial Inc. As you know, woodworking is my hobby, and today we are going to talk about these two little snack stands that I built. The reason I built these is because quite often you have a coffee table in front, or if you're sitting at the end of a sofa, you have an end table and you have a place to put your cup, but nothing right in front of you if you're sitting in the middle. And so I thought something like this would be really perfect. It's quite portable. You can squeeze it in, bring it in. You can have it right next to you, and you can have your snacks right next to you without having to reach over to the coffee table. Let's go ahead and start the build. Sit back and enjoy the show. So we're here in the workshop and I've got all the materials laid out. Macassar Ebony, which is going to be the base, pretty heavy and dense wood. So you need that at the bottom. I used to build guitars, and so this is a guitar billet which I'm going to resaw and make two pieces out of. Those will be the center stand part. And then I had this real wide piece which is a guitar billet that was resawn many years ago, and it's warped a little bit and will straighten out, but you can see it's really killer figure. This is not entirely flat, so I'm going to flatten one side on the jointer, and now I'm going to take it to the bandsaw and we'll resaw this. Okay, so what I have here are two pieces that are slightly oversized. I'm going to take them to the planer, and being highly figured wood, there will be very little tear out because of the spiral cutter head and the little insert. So these will make nice center posts. You can see the figure is just incredible, and they're perfectly square in every dimension. So we finished the two posts. Now remember, this used to be a guitar billet put on the shelf about 25 years ago, so it's air dried. But in the process of 25 years, it's warped terribly. So my goal is to flatten this one side. And once the one side is flattened, you can take it to the planer and plane it parallel to each other. You cannot do that in the beginning because you'll lose too much material. Try and salvage this. If it doesn't work, we'll go to plan B. It's just a slight concave, so I'm going to take it to the planer and run the other side and see what happens. 1.125, 1.215. I'm going to put it at 1.1 and see what happens. One 1.1 was a little too aggressive, so I'm going to go to 1.2, and let's try that again. Beautiful, absolutely killer board, and I'm glad we were able to save this. This is the perfectly flat piece that we were able to get out of the mating part. Okay, so this is going to be the base. We only need 10.5 inch, and we got about 14.5 inch on here. So all these little cracks that you see will be trimmed off. And this will go on top, and then inset in that will be the glass piece right in there. So let's go ahead and trim the Macassar Ebony. These boards also have a slight warp in them, so I'm going to go ahead and straighten it out first. Okay, so we've got it set at 5.5 inches, which is just a hair oversized than we need, just to make sure there's no more cracks that show up internally. Next thing I want to do is go ahead and put this on the planer and plane them down so they're all the same thickness. The side down on the table is the one we've run against the jointer. So now we're going to make them parallel by taking the top off. So this has been done. I'm going to set it up for doweling in the middle, and then I've got something else that I'm going to trick on the end. So that'll be the final part. For these tops, I'm going to put it on the sliding table saw and cut off roughly about 14 inches, and then we'll take it from there. So I'm a little spoiled. I have big equipment, might as well use it. You can do this on your table saw, but I'm going to use a sliding table saw. Tiger maple. This is just amazing. You can get creative and do one of these numbers, offset like that, but I'm going to build it so that it's dead center like this. I've mated this to the best that they look together, and these will be joined doweled in and glued together. I'm going to run them through the jointer with a very light cut so it's perfectly square. I'm going to mark it with a chalk. And so we'll mark a 1, 2, 3, 4. So 3 and 4 go together. So when I go ahead and join this, and you see these marks, you'll know. Chalk will rub right off. Do not use a Sharpie or something like that because that'll bleed into the wood and screw up your finish. Until the next time. Okay, so today we're going to do a glue up, but remember these were cut on a table saw yesterday, so they're not exactly perfect. So I'm going to run them through the jointer this morning. Now, a little tip on this, you got to make sure that your jointer fence is completely square, otherwise your boards will be a little bit crooked, and you don't want that. It's a very light cut, we don't need to remove a lot. Quick safety tip here. I've got my thumb here. You don't want your hand slipping down. And on this, I've got my fingers on the fence. So there's no chance of my hand slipping because I'm putting a downward force. And so we're gonna run this, and usually it's, I just run the finger along the edge of the fence here to keep it from falling in. It's nicely joined, and you can tell that it's going to be really flat when we go ahead and glue this up. I'm going to drill 3 dowel holes. And now I'm going to put this spacer, it'll be somewhere in the middle. It doesn't have to be exact as long as they're both the same. I'm going to drill the second one. Because it's matching like this, I'm going to go this way, and then I'm turning this around. Okay, moment of truth. And it's a fit. So I made this jig many years ago when I was building guitars to glue backs and sides. I didn't want them to buckle up, so once the pieces are in there, I'm going to wedge them with this so that there's pressure in the center. Throw those dowels in. Put that together. So I'm going to drop this in here. Put some wax paper on the top. So as you can see, it keeps pressure in the center. Now I can go ahead and tighten these. Because the last thing you want is a piece of wax paper in the joint. This goes in, and come back tomorrow, take it off, get the muffin ready out of the oven. So even though the planer did a fantastic job, there's still some light fuzziness that I'm going to remove on the white belt sand. I'm just going to kiss it. I don't want to remove too much material. So I've got all these pieces sanded. I'm going to take them to the sanding table and finish them up to 600 grit. But right now they're smooth. They're good enough for me to finalize the marking. I'm going to go ahead and mark the 2 areas where I want these to be inset on each end. And I'll probably epoxy them in. I'll have the matching holes in here. In this case, I'll be going in from the top, and then I'll cut inlays that'll cover the holes up. So I'm going to insert these screw studs into here. And I'm going to need a 9/16 bit for the final hole. And I don't want to start with that. I'm going to step it up small to large. You want to make sure that your drill is square in all angles, otherwise your insert will be crooked. If I put this in directly, chances are it's going to split the wood because the tension will be so much. So I'm going to wax the threads a little bit. Be careful because you don't want this to split. So you want the top just a little below the surface because this is going to be flush. And then this will go straight from underneath and from the top. Okay, very nice. That's what it looks like. So it's time to get this out of the oven. It looks pretty good. We're going to take it to the white belt sander. Once it's sanded, you can't even see the seam. It's Pretty amazing wood. But let's go over to the white belt sander and get this guy sanded down. So these pieces are done, ready to be final finished. Okay, so we're here at my home shop. We're going to do some work on the CNC. 10, 15 years down the road, I don't want this coming apart. On the back, I'm going to inlay 2 butterflies, and that's what I'm going to do on the CNC. Now, I've done one already. That's what this thing's going to look like. And I've got the butterflies already cut out, which will go into these 2 butterfly inlays. So there we have them. Okay, so what I've done is I've cut a slight cavity in the top for the glass insert to go in. The glass will remain proud of this, but it won't fall off. You may notice that these are rounded corners here. The next thing we're going to do is chisel the corners out and drop the glass in. The figure will show through the glass, and we will be able to capture the full beauty of the wood. You remember we did this on the CNC yesterday, so we're here at the resaw today, and we're going to try to separate these pieces from the board so I can continue to use this board, and then we'll get these inserts to put into the bottom. Okay, so there's the butterfly cavities, and we're going to put these butterflies in. We're going to glue them in. These have been cut about 4/1000 all around, undersized, so they fit really nicely. So let's go ahead and finish gluing these up. Now this is a little bit proud, so when it's dry, I'm going to run it through the white belt sander so it'll be completely even and flat. Alrighty, we're going to go ahead and put this in the oven. Okay, that's going to dry overnight. So we milled this cavity out on the CNC yesterday. The corners are round, but the glass has sharp corners on it. I'm going to knock the corners out very carefully. This is a Sorby corner chisel that is also available at Grizzly. It's very simple to cut the corners, but you got to make sure that you do not overlap the sides, otherwise it will look like hell. This whole thing is coming together really nicely. Okay, let's see if the glass fits in there. Oh yeah, look at that. Beautimus Maximus. These inserts are 2 inches on center. I've got these marked dead center because this column is going to go this way, and I've got number 2 marked for number 2, so it'll be like this when it goes together. So we are going to take this to the milling machine and drill our holes, and then go in from the other side and countersink them. Okay, I cheat a lot because I've got good equipment. So this is a milling machine made normally for metal, but I'm going to use it for wood just because there's a lot of accuracy involved. So this is a pointer where I'm going to zero out dead center, so I'm going to zero that. So left hole is X 0, Y 0. And then I can come 2 inches on this side, and it's, as long as Y does not move, Y is this way, because I'm going to go along that line there. So I'm going to go ahead and change out this pointer to a 3/8 inch end mill. Okay, we're gonna flip this board because we don't want to countersink this side. This is the side that goes on the column. So we're gonna take this out. I'm gonna flip this board in the same plane. And now zero it out again. So now that's 0. So now we can go 2 inches that way. And I'm gonna change this out to a tapered cutter that matches the profile of the screw head. All right, once I'm down to the right depth, I'm gonna go ahead and set the stop. But right now we're just gonna go in. And it stopped where I wanted it to stop. So now I'm going to make the hole a little bit bigger for my inserts that are going to go in and plug, for the plugs I should say, that are going to go in and cover this up. This is a 1 1/16 inch Forstner bit flat. This plug that I've made on the lathe fits in very nicely once everything has been assembled. It's about 3/1000 oversized. So once it goes in, it's in. So you must have everything tightened, Loctited, and so forth. So let's go ahead and show you how we make these plugs. So what I have is I just use the same material that the tops are made of. And so I cut a square, put it in my 4-jaw chuck, just a little oversized. And so now I'm gonna go ahead and finish cutting this plug. I've already roughed it out. It's about 110 thousandths too big, but we'll measure and keep going as we get closer. So geez, I'm within 2/1000ths of an inch. And that's the plug. This is the good side and that's the rough side. We've finished these countersunk holes and now we're going to go ahead and change out this bit to a Forstner bit that's oversized for the plugs. Now we're going to go 2 inches that way. And I'm now going to round over top and bottom. So that's the top, all rounded over. So I'm here at the flap sander. This is basically a buffer grinder that we sell at Grizzly that we've converted to a flap sander. This one's got, I believe, 240 grit, and then I've got 400 grit over there. It's really good for rounded edges, so I'm just gonna do the round edges on here, up to 400 grit, and then I'm gonna take it to the downdraft table and finish sanding all the different sides. Beautiful. I'm going to go from 320 to 400 to 500 to 600. So let's start with the 320. When the oil hits this is going to explode with figure. Very nice. Okay, so I've completely assembled these. They're ready for finishing. This is how the inserts at the top turned out. Even though these screws are Loctited in, I went in and put 1/8 inch brass rods in there to act as pins so that the thing does not shift in case the thing topples over. This is just masking tape so that I don't get any oil on the base. I want these to stick properly. It worried me that the glass might fall out and break. So I went ahead and made these little tabs which will fit like so, and there'll be little brass screws, and it kind of ties the wood in with the bottom as well. So before I apply the oil finish, I always wipe the wood down with naphtha. Remove any of the fine dust that's settled in while you're sanding. You can see the fine dust on that. Oh, look at that. The figure just exploded. Basically, the first couple coats get sucked right in because the wood is dry. I'll wait about 15 minutes and then wipe off the excess. And this Macassar Ebony is gonna look like marble. Everything's been finished to 600 grit, top, bottom, every part. So take a look at these guys. Fantastic. And this thing is just amazing. These things really turned out nice. Yeah, look at the figure on that. Tiger maple is just a killer maple. Wood like this is not easy to come by. Yeah, I can be sloppy on the first coat because it's gonna suck it all in. In case you're wondering, this is freezer paper you can buy in the grocery store. It's wax on one side and kind of dull matte on the other side. So my goal is to put about 3 or 4 coats of this, and in between coats I'm gonna lightly sand with 600 grit so it works the oil in and fills in any pores that need to be filled in. When it's completely dry and I'm happy with the finish, I'm going to go ahead and apply some wax and buff it, and oh my God, it's gonna look so nice. This thing will be incredible. So I'm wiping off the excess oil. The maple is just sucking in the oil like there's no tomorrow. That's it for round 1. All right, so we are done with these wonderful stands. I went ahead and finished it with 3 coats of oil, and then with 600 grit, rubbed the oil in. Went ahead and waxed it afterwards, so this is like smooth as glass. Got the tabs on the end. The glass turned out really nice. It's not gonna fall off. I really appreciate you guys joining us on this journey. And I think they turned out very, very nice. I'm very pleased. What do you think?